What's up, Omaha? I am here with Andrea von Kampen. Take two, actually. You guys didn't get to see take one, but yeah, our first interview kind of went a little flopsy. We had some technical difficulties, so we decided to bring you back in. We appreciate you being able to make it out here.
Thanks for having me.
Now, you have got a lot going on and even more coming up.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got an album coming out February 8th.
Yep.
You've got a couple tour. You got a Midwest tour,
Mm-hmm.
a East Coast tour.
Yep.
And much more even in the preparation before you get all that done.
Mm-hmm.
Like how's it been being this busy?
It's been good. It's my full-time job, so I have the time to email for 5 hours a day. But no, it's been really good. Just working to push the album. We sent off physical copies of it a couple weeks ago to a bunch of different places for review, and so yeah, we've got some exciting things ahead.
Now, we're gonna jump right into the hardcore questions. Now,
Yeah.
you've been a solo artist for a while.
Yeah.
Like
Every
your project
project
hasn't
I've
been
done.
with another.
Right. It's always solo. I write everything by myself, and
Now, have you been in a group dynamic project before? Like
not like a serious group. I mean, I was
Okay.
like in a duo for a little bit, and like I play with other people, but everything I've ever written has been solo project. I mean, when I record in the studio, I have players that I bring in, but mostly everything I do when I tour is solo.
Okay, so the studio album is gonna have some sounds in there that your live performances. are
Yeah,
gonna
and
have.
my brother's the composer, and he arranges everything for me. So we bring in bass, drums, strings, lots of different instruments.
Now, do you backtrack those on some of your live shows, or is it just you up there with an acoustic?
Yeah, a lot of local shows I do full band, but I just hire musicians out and they come and play. I don't have like a set band that comes with me. And like occasionally I might tour with like a cello or something, but right now most tours are pretty stripped down.
Do you find it easier to be working all that on your own and just kind of bringing people in from time to time, or
Yeah.
does it get lonely at all being the?
I don't know. I go back and forth. I really like being in charge, so I enjoy hiring people and then having
power
them
hungry.
do what I say.
All
Yeah,
right, I got it.
exactly. No, but I also really love playing solo too. There's just something I think so freeing about just being able to control everything.
A little bit more of an intimate experience for
Totally.
people because you don't have to worry about, like, if you've got a show coming up and something goes wrong with another instrument, or
Right.
you don't have to worry about
Exactly.
anything but getting yourself up there and
Mm-hmm.
getting ready to go. Now, how long have you been playing? How long has this been your full-time job, I guess would actually be
Yeah,
better.
it's only been about a year that I've been doing this full time.
Okay.
I released my first EP in 2015. So from about 2014 until now, I've been doing this solo project.
Okay. Now, how do you I guess this is a question that a lot of people are going to be interested in, is
Mm-hmm.
how do you, as a solo artist, manage to do this full-time and
Right.
I don't know, keep your sanity and
Streaming.
keep yourself afloat at the same time?
For me, digital streaming has been huge. Spotify, I got a pretty, I don't know, lucky, amazing push towards the beginning. My song Train Song, within a few months of releasing it in 2015, got into Evening Acoustic, which is one of the major Spotify playlists. And so ever since then, I had like a consistent 30,000 monthly listeners. And then it's just been growing steadily. And then it's been up to like 300,000 now pretty consistently.
Okay.
And so for me, that's been like a great way to do this full time because, having that streaming and then on the other platforms now too, it really liberates you as a solo independent artist. You
Sure.
can make choices now that, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, I might not have been able to have made.
So you've been releasing singles periodically, kind of in between the
Yeah,
EP
I've
and
released
2015.
I've released 2 EPs. So 2015, 2017. I did an audio tree a couple summers ago in Chicago, and so that registers as a full-length album on Spotify. It's totally live. And then some singles, a Christmas EP, and then this is my first full-length.
Busy.
Yeah.
Very busy.
It's been a lot.
Where do you record?
I record with Lucas Kelson, previously known as Roxy Studios. Now he kind of does his own home thing, but yeah, I record with him.
So a lot of freelance stuff. Have you been working with him almost exclusively
Yeah.
for the entire time?
He's done everything.
Now, how do you get it? How do you get things going in the studio when you jump in there? Like you
Yeah.
so between releasing as much as you have,
Right.
like obviously you're coming in there with a game plan.
Yeah, so I have everything written when I go into the studio, but we track guitar and vocal first, and then we send it to my brother David, and he does the arrangements. So,
And that's when you make the decision on other instruments to add in and stuff like that.
and I have a lot of, I say a lot of this is what I want to sound like, this is what I want the vibe to be like. write up some string parts. Let's hear what those sound like.
Okay. So you come in with the solo dynamic pretty much complete,
Totally.
and then everything else is written in after.
Totally.
Okay.
And then from there, we bring in all the musicians, we track everything, and then Lucas mixes it, and then we master it here in Omaha.
Nice. Okay, so something interesting that you said a while back is that streaming was actually the big push for you, which a lot of musicians, I mean, we get kind of a mixture in here. We've got a lot who like understand it as a necessity, that online streaming and online content is going to be the big push.
Totally.
But not so much of them embracing it as like their main source of outreach. Like, was that kind of the idea all along, or did it?
Not at all. I mean, when I didn't even realize what had happened when it happened. Like I saw that Train Song had like 10,000 listens, and I was like, man, that seems like a weird amount. Like that seems like a lot for just like a local push. And then I didn't even have Spotify at that time. And then I got on and kind of did some research and realized like, whoa, that's pretty cool. And then things kind of shifted. And in that same spring, I did the Tiny Desk contest, and NPR tweeted about my video and made it like the top 10 of that year. And so that push and then the Spotify thing together made me realize like, man, digitally, there are so many ways you can connect. Like there's the local scene, and that's awesome. And like playing shows is so important. And like, getting that work done where you learn how to play a live show is crucial to doing this. But it made me realize there was like so much beyond that too, like people you can reach out to across the globe just through streaming. And so at that point, I really embraced it.
Now, I am a big proponent for the internet is a musician's main stage these days. I think Instagram's probably one of the most powerful methods of being discovered as a musician now. And with the big uproar that you can get, especially coming out of nowhere, like even if you're not expecting it.
Exactly.
I mean, did you attribute it more to luck, or were you like when you got that music out, were you throwing it to NPR and to these?
I was doing nothing.
You're doing nothing.
I was literally in my senior year of college, doing nothing. I mean, I will say it's 100% luck.
You got a lot of rage on people looking at you right now.
I do think that the quality of the music was good, but there's a lot of great music out there. And so, I mean, maybe, luck meets good music, but that doesn't always happen. So 95% luck.
It's okay. But I mean, it happened, and I mean, we got to. I've listened to your content. I also got to listen to that exclusive performance that you gave that we couldn't use because our microphones decided not to capture the whole performance. So that was funny. Super fun. But and we're excited to get another one out of you today, maybe two, depending on how you feel.
Totally.
But now with you embracing that internet as the main stage, you're now going to be jumping out on a tour. Now, did you choose the cities that you're actually going to based off of any of your online outreach, or was it? Would you kind of reach out in a different way?
So we're going back to cities we went to on my previous tour. So last summer I did the whole West Coast to the whole East Coast, and kind of like learned what cities work really well in both of those coasts. And so this year we kind of like handpicked the best cities from last tour, and we're doing those. And a lot of them coincide with like the top 20 cities on Spotify. So we look at that too. And like when my booking agent books, that's a big part of what goes into being able to even book these shows, because, for someone from Nebraska who's never played in Boston, that's going to be hard to get a show. I mean, like, I've never played in Boston. Like, you've never heard of me. I know no one. Like, let me play in your venue, So being able to say, there's these amount of listeners in this city, we'll do targeted ads. I mean, that makes a big difference.
Was there a city that stood out based off maybe one that you've been to before already?
Totally. No, I loved playing in D.C. so much. That was just a great city for folk music, and I had never played there before, so.
Now, being a folk singer, like that, I think it's safe to say that genre is not always in the spotlight. It's not always the first genre that you expect to hear come along the radio or to hear another big budding artist come through on. Like, why do you think that is?
I don't know. I think now folk is a lot more at the forefront of radio play and even streaming, like folk, indie, acoustic, Americana. I think that has a big push on streaming stations and stuff right now. But I don't think it's as accessible to the masses. I think a lot of people, I don't know. There's
almost
a lot
don't
of
know
like
where to look for it.
Okay.
Like,
Do you want me to tell you where to
that's kind
That's
of where I feel like it's coming from, because when I'm looking for folk artists, I'm not sure how to start. Like,
I think Spotify is really helpful. They have tons of acoustic playlists. Apple Music has some acoustic playlists with stuff. And then another way that when I was younger, even finding a lot of new musicians was through like YouTube and stuff, acoustic sessions, the Dobe sessions, Gondola sessions, Cardinal sessions. I think all of those have amazing acoustic artists.
Yeah, I think acoustic is actually probably the better, the easier one to find, because I mean there's a big bunch up and all that, but like as far as like full band folk, that I don't find a lot of. But solo acoustic artists, there's a boon of that.
Well, and the
stuff
genres are so blurred now too. It's hard to say, because I mean, even a lot of people would argue that I'm not, pure folk either. If you're looking at like the 60s, like Dylan and Baez and Joni Mitchell and like the politically like really intense politically things, a lot of people would say that's not you either. So it's all pretty broad.
So folk acoustic singer-songwriter,
whatever you want. Just like listen to the CDs.
Whichever one you want to throw it on there, just listen to it.
Right. I've always loved this kind of music. I mean, I think one of the most important CDs for me growing up was the Oh Brother Where Art Thou soundtrack. Okay. That was like the first thing that really made me realize, like, wow, like just like raw singing is so interesting. And I grew up, my dad's a choir director, my brother plays jazz music. So I just,
in the blood.
Yeah, but I just grew up with like a lot of like classical choral music, okay? Lots of like hymns, lots of jazz songs too. And so to hear it just totally stripped away, just the guitar and singing, I was just really powerful.
And having that level of creativity come through with just somebody standing up there with an acoustic guitar in their voice, I mean, there's a lot more pressure on that person to deliver something, especially when nobody knows who you are.
Right. So, no one knows you. No one's going to like you. No, I'm just joking.
No, I know exactly where you're coming from. Oh Brother Where Art, that was a big movie in my house when I was a kid.
Yeah,
and
it's amazing.
I can still watch it now. It's hilarious. Like, if you haven't seen it, it's an amazingly hilarious film.
It's a great movie.
It's like, there's especially if you're into bluegrass, there's a lot of classical timey bluegrass in there. Alison Krauss, and I think it was the Union Station who actually wrote like the song that George Clooney kind of like blew up on with it. But yeah, that one's a big one. And honestly, we're seeing a lot more music-oriented films too. I mean, with A Star Is Born coming out here, being entirely revolving around like the struggles of a musician. Like, do you relate to that struggle anymore now? Considering how like,
well, I don't know how much I can relate to that being a folk singer. Like I feel like there's a lot more pressure, especially on women, in like the pop genres, the genres where you have to look a certain way, be able to dance, put on like a full-fledged show. I feel like there's a little less pressure with the folk genre, which is nice.
You don't see a lot of super mega folk stars coming out of America's Got Talent.
No, or like
that,
you'll never see a folk singer like dance, like.
I mean, like
traditional Irish maybe, but I will never dance. Let's just put it at that.
You don't want to bust out a river dance at any point.
I would do it at a separate location for a separate, outcome.
Nobody knows that you're up there for
but it's not going to be in a show.
Fair enough. So, big stuff coming up. You've got a couple tours.
Yep.
The album itself coming out, and obviously these tours are to promote that. Like, I mean, the excitement's got to be there.
Yeah, I'm super excited.
Because this is your first, what you're calling your first debut album.
Right, yes. And I'm really hungry to get back on the road. It was so much fun this summer. I did a lot of local, like, Midwestern stuff all fall. And then I've taken off pretty much all of December and all of January. And so I'm just, like, really hungry to get back out there.
You got a little bit of cabin fever.
Yeah, just a little bit like, well, what's it all for? So, yeah, I'm super excited. So, yeah, doing Midwest with a band called Darling West. They're a Norwegian folk band. They're really cool. I actually met them in Omaha. They played here. And then doing the East Coast, and then probably getting out to the West Coast in the first 2 weeks of June. So, yeah.
Now, did you come at recording the album any differently from how you were recording the EP, or was it kind of just like, all right, we've got more music coming in, let's knock it out?
It kind of felt like a similar process in the way that we made it, but I feel like the songs are so much more. There's just a lot more meat to them than I think either of my EPs were. So,
would it be safe to say that you kind of wrote them from a different perspective, knowing that they were going to be in a full album as opposed to an EP?
I don't think so. No? I think I always sort of have the same process when I write.
Is it a concept album?
Not
No,
really.
not really?
There's a lot of, I mean, I think there's a lot of themes you can pull from it, but I didn't, say like, here's the North Star. I'm going to write everything around this.
Okay. No, not a story to tell that I'm going to be led through from track 1 to the last.
I mean, I think that's up to your interpretation, but
Alright.
not anything I intended.
Spoiler alert, no story.
Right.
But
No story,
let them
guys.
write. We'll let that write. I'll cut that out. We'll let them write it on their
That's a
own.
good idea.
Let them play that out. Well, thanks for coming in.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Let's get you onto your
Let's
guitar
play some
and
music.
get some music out of you.
All right, sounds good.
Awesome.
I got off that corner lane. There was a man willing to share his name. He said, I love you. I could find